It is not about the destination, it's about the journey. In the universe of Star Rail, the Trailblaze and the Finality are showcased as antitheses to one another. The Trailblaze, in the shape of the Astral Express, for example, wishes to forge their own path into the unknown, to move forward and live life exploring and traveling any place there is to see. While the Finality, on the other hand, showcases themselves more towards focusing on what is fated to happen, that no matter what, there is an end to things and this is gonna be the end result. And we see this through all the factions in the Finality, in particular the Omens of Vanguard and the Creed Exeque, but it is more than anything showcased via the Stellaron Hunters. That being said, despite the fact that both paths seem to be complete opposites to one another, I believe that these two have elements which they share that make them the perfect pairing to one another. Sort of like a yin and yang situation. One cannot exist without the other, and one's actions can still lead towards the thing that the other aims for. This thought process honestly came from my last video where I gave like a segment about the preservation and the destruction, and how even though they seem to be complete opposites, they share a lot of things within each other. In particular, this arose by the fact that the Trailblazer and the Aeon kind of have the reversed elements to one another. Throughout this video, I want to showcase some of my reasoning as to why I believe the Trailblaze and the Finality have many similarities with one another, as well as showcase some of the evidence that I have gathered for this claim. So yeah, with that being said, let us see why the Trailblaze and the Finality are two sides of the same coin. Despite how both paths appear to diverge in ideologies, there's always going to be trailblazing in the search for the end of a journey, and there will always be finality in the travels that one goes through. The Trailblaze is a path that is known most through the Nameless, a group of brave and curious intergalactic adventurers. We know that they aid planets that are in need as they travel through the Silver Rail, and they don't really care much for profit or fame. They do it for the sake of their own desire to help. However, according to the warping compound I Curio, it is said that there are two types of Nameless. One type enjoys the mysteries of the unknown, while the other tends to trailblaze through the universe with a plan. The first type of Nameless perfectly describes the ideologies of the Astral Express, which is a subfaction of the Nameless. However, the second part is the one that I am most intrigued by. The second type of Nameless strikes me as odd because it showcases Trailblazers who only aim for a goal in mind, who will do anything to achieve this goal, but what they really seek is to reach the end. They want this final result of their journey rather than traveling for the sake of the journey itself. And they are still considered followers of Akivili, which means that this is like a valid form of like a follower, I would imagine. This sort of reasoning as well is what really has me wondering as well about Oswaldo Schneider, because we know that he is a Nameless due to one of the myriad Celestia trailers that we got that focus specifically on the IPC. They verbally mentioned the Nameless Oswaldo Schneider, and I genuinely don't think that he would be the kind of trailblazer that the Astral Express is, but rather the second type of Nameless, the one that will do anything to achieve their goals and to do what they please. And heck, we've seen it through both Sigonia 5 as well as Boothelp's home planet. He did not care about what would happen. He just knew that this is what has to be done, and he will do anything towards that specific goal. And it's kind of concerning. I feel like I'm genuinely happy that I read like the lore of that curio, and that kind of led me to this reasoning of there are trailblazers who really only care about the result, which really seems to be more attuned to the finality. The finality, on the other hand, is known for their focus on destiny and how it is fated to happen. Some of the factions that follow this path are the Omen Vanguards, who are dedicated to drawing prophecies from Terminus' obscure words, the Creed Exequy, which awaits an encounter with Terminus. I'm not really sure about what else they do other than apparently that. And most importantly, the Stellaron Hunters, who follow the prophecies of Elio, the Destiny Slave. All of these factions that follow Terminus have one thing in mind. No matter what, destiny will happen. Nothing you can do will ever change the end result, for fate is sealed. And this is especially true for the Stellaron Hunters, who follow Elios' scripts. And they know that they cannot be altered in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, we see this very clearly in Penacony. During our journey there, we met Stellaron Hunter Sam, or as we know her best, Firefly, which reveals to us her true identity, but also ends up telling us more about their intentions in Penacony. I originally planned on showing up earlier to reveal some truths to you, but I encountered more roadblocks than expected. 11 times I have tried but ended in failure. Before I knew it, this world and I became too intertwined, and it became too difficult to escape the constraints of the script. This, in all honesty, feels like direct confirmation from Firefly that you cannot escape what is written in those scripts. The destiny is bound to happen. So, with this, I guess one can assume that, yeah, like your journey is just irrelevant, so why even bother? Doesn't that just disprove that there is no journey in finality? Well, not really. You see, the whole concept of the journey being relevant is also showcased to us directly through Penacony in the shape of Firefly's 3 deaths. Because no matter what will happen, Firefly is fated to die 3 times. Her first death was by the Claws of Dormancy, who is most commonly referred to as Death by the people of Penacony, but I prefer to call him Sleepy. Her second death was achieved when she had to leave the dreamscape. Because she entered through non-conventional methods, the only way she could leave Penacony would be through her own death. And lastly, her final death is surprisingly not when she had to leave Penacony again after re-entering, but instead it appears to be interpreted as it being when she died, quote-unquote, by the explosive set up by Sparkle at the Radiant Feldspar. In fact, it is kind of confirmed to us via the messages from Sparkle's message doll, who mentions how someone had hired Sparkle to ensure Firefly's deaths would happen as safe as possible, and that they met this person that hired them through video games. It is in all likelihood Silverwolf, who probably realized long ago 2 things in particular. Though the results cannot be changed for the script, the way that you get there can potentially be altered, and that even though there is a result set in stone, the way you interpret it can also alter the final result, as it will still be true, but just not in the way that one thinks. This, I feel like, is also further confirmed by the reunion with Death Curio, which talks about a man who followed the murmurs of finality. The hunter went ahead towards danger over and over again, believing himself unkillable because his fate was not to die at that specific place and time. And as such, he forged his own path, doing whatever he pleased and having so much fun at the face of death. He had many near-death experiences, but he was never able to be slain, even though he went through even like the storm disaster, which is kind of concerning, but that just kind of shows that if you're not fated to die yet, you will not die. So before we continue, I want to take a quick moment to say thank you guys for all the support and all the kindness that you guys have shown me throughout this year. I genuinely wouldn't be at this spot where I am right now if it wasn't for you guys. Those that have been liking videos, commenting, subscribing, which is free and it only takes a second. And hey, if you ever feel like you don't like this sort of content, you can always unsubscribe. But sub plug shill aside, no, genuinely speaking, I'm very grateful. And this is one of the few times that this is one of the last few times that I'm going to be able to properly say it, because I'm gonna be AFK for a couple of weeks. I'm planning on leaving a few videos pre-recorded for you guys to have. But yeah, I just want to say hey, I really appreciate you all, and I just want to say, yeah, the words. Anyways, back to the video. The last thing that I really wanted to talk about for this is about the Trailblazers and the Hunters, and how interconnected they really have been throughout the journey in Star Rail that we have been experiencing. Really looking at it, our existence is an influence of the finality, and the fact that we are being placed with the Astral Express, with the Trailblazers, that we became a Trailblazer to forge a path, is interesting, because again, we are a production of the finality, so to speak. And at every single point and instance, there have been actions that the finality has made to alter our journey, to set us into a specific direction. If it wasn't for the Stellaron Hunters, we would have never gone to the Xianzhou Laofu. If it wasn't for the Stellaron Hunters, the Nameless would have never met us. And if we have, if you got that one end credit scene at the very beginning of the game, where you decide to not join the Astral Express, it is mentioned how they die and disappear. So it's just still forms of action that we are fated to do for the Stellaron Hunters. Penacony as well. We wouldn't be able to continue journeying forward if it wasn't for Silverwolf hacking the Dreamscape. I'm actually not sure what the hell happened there, but there's still influences of the Stellaron Hunters in our actions as a Trailblazer. And sort of on the opposite end, right? We as the Trailblazers have had a lot of influence in the fates that are gonna be happening the Stellaron Hunters. Especially, for Kafka and Blade, we made sure that they would no longer be fugitives of the Xianzhou, because we cleared their names by us taking action at the Laofu. We also were kind of directly responsible for all the deaths that Firefly had during our journey in Penacony. I feel like we were directly the reason as to why some of the Firefly deaths happened. The very first one, we know Firefly to be someone that is physically weak, right? And as such, we were the ones that defended her when we were fighting Something Unto Death. It is us that made Something Unto Death angry enough to want to quote-unquote kill us. I know that it's not meant to be an evil entity, because we learned it from Gallagher, and Gallagher would never lie to me. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we did kind of provoke Something Unto Death in our first encounter, so it definitely had beef against Firefly. The next one was the fact that for our plan to work, we needed Firefly to leave the Dreamscape, and that caused her second death. And in the third one, I really don't know what would be our reason. I feel like that one doesn't really have our influence. It just kind of happens because she has to leave the Dreamscape again. A part of me wants to assume that it will be her faking her own death, because nobody really saw Stellaron Hunter Sam reappear. They just saw a big beam of light that they could have easily confused for another firework, and suddenly the Trailblazer and Firefly are up in the sky, just having their own moment, which is kind of cute. Beyond that, I don't, and I'm actually not sure. But I do have something else that I'm more confident about. However, there is something else, a tiny little extra thing that I want to add that I would need to look more into, but I feel like it's still kind of relevant for this. And it is because of two curios found in the Divergent universe. the Tawot cards and the Towat cards. I really hate that I had to do the woo kind of fucking speech for this, but anyways. The description of these cards says as follows. Depending on your choice, the Tawot cards will reveal different fates to you, implying that choice is what matters and that these are gonna be what forges your future. However, the other ones say, under the guidance of the Towat cards, the path ahead reveals a destiny that has already been recognized as certain. This more than anything follows the path of finality, because it's essentially telling you, no matter what you do, this is going to happen. You can never alter this. And I feel like this sort of combination of the two cards is what also solidified me wanting to make this video talking about how these two are very similar. I don't feel like I did like the best job, but I definitely wanted to at least leave the idea out there, hear what you guys have to think about it. I would love to know any and all inputs on other paths potentially having this sort of similarity in their ideologies and the way that they function, right? I know that there's a video by, I forget the name of the creator, 1 second. Okay, I found it. Yeah, there is a video by Ashikai where they talk about aeons coming in pairs. And a lot of people had told me to look at that video, and I did like a long time ago, and when I like did the little destruction preservation thingy, I had to like rewatch it, and I feel like they do have like a lot of great points, and I might like re-study that video again to see if I can like justify pairings that also are too similarly close to one another. I'm very much, again, in my mind, I have like very ingrained and resolved preservation and destruction as just being, you know, you can preserve things by destroying and you can destroy things to preserve other things kind of concept. The abundance and the hunt being life and death are interesting. Again, two sides of the same coin, because you can kill to make things live, and you can make things live that can kill other things, especially with how the abundance is essentially zombies. That is one that I've been just keeping in the back of my mind. And the other one is, see, this one I feel like is one that I wouldn't agree, but I still need to like properly look into it. I feel like I want to pair the Remembrance with the Enigmata, because you have reality versus fake reality, and the main idea of that is just like victory is written by the winners. So you can even have, you know, fake memories be told as the truth, and you can make fake evidence to forge a future that you want and make it be the new reality, so to speak. And that is how they you know, like that is how people remember it. I'm not sure if I'm like really portraying that idea well, but that is currently the pairings that I have in my mind that I want to explore in the future. But yeah, I'm elongating this speech way longer than I should. Anyways, thank you very much for watching all the way up to this point in the video. It really means a lot to me that you've been here for a lot of time. Like I said in the mini section about like thank yous and such with the little sub plug, I really am very grateful and happy that you guys are here. I will admit that for this week I didn't really have a video in mind, so I'm so happy that it just popped out of nowhere in my brain. Hence why it's also a little bit too late, and with like, you know, a lot of family things going on. It's soon to be Christmas, which, by the way, if you're watching this video before the 25th, happy early Christmas. I'm hoping you'll have a great and wonderful day and that you'll get to enjoy it. I know I will be pulling for fugue while I'm eating family lunch with my extended family, and I'm also listening to the Ithaca saga, so that's gonna be interesting. But that being said, again, I'm going to like a bit of tangents. I also have an announcement to make, which is that after the new year, I have to go on some travels. This means that I am not gonna be able to upload new videos for a bit of time, or at least better said, I won't be able to record new videos for a bit of time. I have been pre-recording a couple of videos to post on the wake of 3.0 coming potentially soon. I'm really excited about it, so I'm hoping that y'all will be able to have fun with these and that it makes your lore brains tickle a little bit. Anyways, yeah, no, again, I'm just very thankful for the opportunity. I will try to reply to the comments as best as possible. I genuinely love being able to reply to your guys' comments. It makes me happy, and I love, again, like this like back and forth interactions and discussions that we have. So yeah, I will hope to see you all in the next year. I hope you'll have an amazing holiday season that I can say now genuinely before, you know, it happens. And I'm making this like conclusion a little bit like far too stretched. So I tend to yap too much, as you can see. But yeah, have a great rest of your day, night, morning, whatever time zone applies to you at the time that you're watching this video. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.